Welcome, I'm Halcyon and this is Hug Nation. Today I want to talk about how to utilize your council of voices. This is a tool that I have been working with and developing for many years, the council of voices. And I'm going to explain a couple ways that it has shown itself to me and how I use it. The first way that I use it is when there is a nagging thought that is coming up over and over to you, something that is in something, a voice on your shoulder that is saying something like a money concern, like you should be putting more money in the bank, or you should be exercising more, or you should be. You may have a voice like that tells you the same thing over and over again. You may not even know it's a voice. It may feel like it's your conscience. It's your internal dialogue that's telling you this thing over and over again. And it's tough to let go of it. And it can be distracting and it can be demotivating. And so what the first step of it is to recognize that voice is not you. It is a voice. Ideally, do a little thought and inquiry and try to figure out, where did that come from? Is that something that I learned as a kid? Maybe I learned, fat is bad for you. And so you have this voice every time you put butter on something. Maybe it is, some health thought that you grew up with. Maybe it is something that your parents told you. Maybe it is some teacher or you were once teased for something, and so now you're always trying to protect yourself from getting into that situation again. And so recognize that this voice is at some point was outside of you, became an internal part, and then in some way is trying to protect you or help you. So now, if you know who it is, if it's like your childhood babysitter or if it's your parent, you can actually see the voice as that person. If it's not, if it's just some like nagging thing, and you don't know who it came from, it's just like a general thing, like you need to eat less. You can give it a little caricature, a little dragon, a little puppet, something that is telling you that over and over again. Now that you have this voice, when it gives you that incessant message, you need to do this, you can look to it and recognize that this is not you. This is a member of your council of voices. And this voice that has been so loud for so long that it feels like you can look to it and thank it for its advice. Thank it for its contribution to your council of voices, and then recognize that over your years, you actually have developed multiple ways to think about whatever the situation is. You have this me, childish voice in you that's probably saying, eat the candy, eat the candy. You probably have a higher self version of you that is like, you feel better when you don't eat so poorly. And think about what decision you would like to have made as we undertake this new opportunity. And you might have a voice from some mentor, some teacher, or some YouTube videos that really resonated. And so you now have all these different voices that simply do not have the same embedded power of the one that has been, driving at you all these years. So you can consult your council of voices, and in doing so, de-escalate, what do they like? Give him a opposite of a promotion, knock him down a peg or two. Okay, so that's the first step, is just recognizing that you have a council of voices. Now the next part is that if this person just keeps barging into your office and interrupting you, telling the same message over and over, you say, hey, I agree that you are part of my council of voices, and I know that you're trying to help. I agree that we will meet once a week once a month, something like that. Say, on the first Monday of the month, I will put on my calendar and I will say, meet with Council of Voices regarding money or regarding eating. And so that when it comes bugging, you go, I heard you, you're on the calendar, I can let go of you for now. I can take you out of the loop in my mind and put you aside and know that I haven't forgotten you. You don't have to keep bothering me. You're on the calendar. We will talk. And then in a month, I listen to what you have to say, I listen to all of my counsel, and I make a decision, and then I act from that place. Maybe you have to consult with your counsel every morning on certain issues. Maybe it's weekly, maybe it's monthly, maybe it's less and less than that, depending on as you continue to go, that voice has been way overshadowed by what I've learned since that was the dominant idea in my head. So that is part one of how to use your Council of Voices. What came up to me this week was, and why this is front of my mind is because I had a friend, that's a tough word to use, someone that I was once connected with that I have now had to break contact with. This week it was the third time. And they, I don't want to use triggering words or labeling words, they have powerfully aligned themselves with a activist movement that is towards the level of what has been labeled conspiracy theory. So chemtrails, fluoride in the water, long lineages of families that are controlling the wealth and population control, things like that are part of their passion. Now, for them, they only have that one voice. And so they have a trouble in any communication not letting that voice speak, which is why I've had to block them in the past, and I had to do it so again this week, because they started participating in my morning love broadcasts. And as I asked people to share things that they're grateful for, they shared that they were grateful for their rights. And then they went on with kind of a tirade about the corruption in the government and where we're headed as a population. And it did not feel like a gratitude share. And so I reflected to them, please, let's keep this as a venue for gratitude. Didn't attack their beliefs. Just said, hey, let's adjust. Let's leave that voice for other places. And they came at me and they attacked me, and so I just blocked them. And it made me start thinking about this, like that I believe to be this person's challenge, is that they are not aware of that this voice is the only voice, and it's the only thing they can hear, and it's in times like this, it's the only way they can respond. And if somebody challenges that, there is no room for them to hear anything except an absolute denial of their reality, which it wasn't. It was simply, I want to hear from a different part of you, not just this one thing. It would be like if I was having a birthday party and they were yelling, saturated fat is dangerous, don't eat that cake. And I'm like, can we wait until after we've had the birthday party and not talk about that while we're having cake? And they said, you're denying the, and I'd be like, you're not welcome at this party. And so the other part of all this, I guess, is that, I've had to recognize in myself when I am being swayed by a voice. I've had to recognize when they're being swayed by a voice, and also recognize when there is no value in trying to speak to someone who is overwhelmed by a voice. They were very unsatisfied with our conversation. They, found other ways to contact me with their anger with me, and with all sorts of accusations about, my role in the the enslavement of our population and such. And I had to practice something that I'm also working on right now, which is being okay with not everyone liking me. I actually wrote that in my morning kind of mission statement a few weeks ago that I work with my coaching group. And I added that I'm okay with not everyone liking me, because I realized that it was that belief that I needed that was swaying me and causing me to react and spend more time trying to please people that was unnecessary. And this was like, oh, careful what you wish for. Here's an opportunity to say, would I rather, be right, or would I rather be happy? Would I rather convince this person that I'm a good person, or would I rather let it go, let them think poorly of me, and move on? So I guess that's two ideas. The idea of recognizing that your truth does not have to be everyone's truth, recognizing that your truth could be a voice and not a total truth. And that this council of voices hopefully allows you to have compassion towards yourself and others, and a little less rigidness about the way you see the world, about when you're right, when others are wrong, and that we are all dealing with a council of voices. And that, at the level of Hug Nation and the level of what I think the core of my messages and what my life is recognizing that beneath the council of voices, beneath your ideas of what should be happening, is this basic humanity that craves connection and love and security, and that everyone shares that. The people that you think of as them, they share that. They have simply developed a council of voices, or a single voice, that has convinced them that the way to get safety, protection, justice, love is a certain path. And it's different than your path. Therefore, we are in opposition, when at the root we have this shared humanity. And so as a practice, trying to kind of break down why you think your path is right, understand how someone else could think their path is right, and recognize that all of those paths have the intention of getting to this place of satisfying our core human needs. And from that, we can see how we overlap. We're far more alike than we are different. Which is why when we interact with people on a one-on-one basis, and we let go of our team ideology, our us and them, it's often surprising how much we can love and have compassion towards people that have different voices, different perspectives that are governing their worldview than ours. So perhaps this idea will add and become a part of your council of voices. Perhaps you will be able to have more compassion towards someone that you are at odds with. Ideally, you'll have more compassion towards yourself and be able to have compassion towards these desires within you that want your safety, want your connection, want you to be loved and have security and all these things. And then it's up to you to consult all of these voices and these experiences and choose what is true for the one who's in charge of the council of voices, your true self. And that challenge is our journey for the rest of our lives. So thank you for letting me be a part of this journey. Thanks for being a part of mine. I love you. So thank you so much. Send me a note about anything if you want. If I mentioned something and you didn't hear the details, whether that be mornings, love, or gratitude, or Pink Path, or Patreon, whatever. I'm just happy that you're out there and that you're you, and you are being one of those examples that others can go, yes, I too can be more loving, open-hearted, and compassionate. Thank you for being you. I love you.